Hey everyone, welcome to my Facebook Live, my Instagram Live with Senator Bernie Sanders. We are so excited to have you here, and we are going to be talking about what is happening with the Jobs and Families Plan and this reconciliation package that we are putting together to invest in families and individuals across America and transform lives and livelihoods. And of course, my special guest today is somebody that is very near and dear to my heart, very special to Americans across the country, somebody who was talking about all of the issues we're going to talk about today on the campaign trail, and now, of course, occupies the very powerful position of chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, which is negotiating this resolution. So I am really excited to be joined today by Senator Bernie Sanders. Let's see if we can. And I believe he should be on momentarily. There he is, the man of the hour. Bernie, it's so great to see you. And you see all the hearts that are coming out here on Instagram as people are just appreciating everything you've been doing. You have been an absolute champion leading the work on the budget resolution in the Senate Budget Committee, where you are the chairman. And so I was hoping that I'm going to lay out the 5 priorities that the Congressional Progressive Caucus in the House, which you formed along with some of your colleagues almost 20 years ago, have laid out, and then ask you to just share with us where things are. So first priority for us, and these aren't in order, but first priority for us is investing in housing, making sure that we've got affordable housing for people across the country, making sure that we are investing in taking on climate change, lowering carbon emissions, and ensuring that we have clean energy standards and a climate civilian corps, and that 40% of our investments in climate go towards frontline communities. Third, something you and I have been working on very closely together is expanding Medicare. So lowering the age of eligibility for Medicare and adding dental, vision, and hearing to Medicare. And then fourth, the care economy, making sure that we are investing in childcare, universal childcare, paid leave, and long-term care for our seniors and those with disabilities. And last but certainly not least is immigration, and making sure that we provide a pathway to citizenship within the reconciliation package for dreamers, TPS holders, farm workers, and essential workers. So Bernie, break it down for us. Tell us where we are. Oh, it looks like we may have lost Bernie. So let's just make sure we add him back in. Hang on, folks. Let's see if we can get him back. Let's see if we can get him back here. There he is. Excellent. All right. So I went through all the priorities. So break it down for us, Bernie. Tell us where we are.
Well, first of all, Pramila, I want to congratulate you and the House Progressive Caucus for the extraordinary work that you were doing. You know, a long, long time ago, I helped form the Progressive Caucus when I was in the House. And I got to say, you guys are doing so much more than I ever dreamed was possible. And I just want to thank you and all the members of the caucus for the great work you're doing. And let me begin by saying that what makes this moment different than any other moment that I have been involved in since I've been in Congress is that we are beginning to take a hard, comprehensive look at the needs of the American working class, of lower income people, of climate change in a way that we have never done, certainly since I've been in Congress, and I think, fair to say, since the Great Depression. So instead of saying, well, we have this much money to spend, we are lifting the Band-Aid and saying, what's going on? And what we know and what you know is half our people are living paycheck to paycheck. We got over 500,000 people who are homeless. Climate is threatening the very existence of this planet, the kind of planet we leave our kids, that we have a disaster in childcare, in pre-K, et cetera, et cetera. So what is significant is not that we're going to get everything that you want or I want, But for the first time in almost a century, many of us in Congress, unfortunately without any Republican support, Democrats are saying, what's going on? How do we restore faith in the American people that their government works for them, not just wealthy campaign contributors? All right, having said that, let's look at some of the priorities of the Progressive Caucus. Housing. It's not just that almost 600,000 people are homeless. It's that 18 million households are paying 50% or more of their limited incomes. I don't have to tell you, the Seattle area is a total disaster in terms of housing, correct? But
That's
it's
right.
true all over America. People are watching this program, paying 30, 40, 50% of their incomes in housing more. How do you feed your family? How do you buy health insurance, et cetera, et cetera? So bottom line here is we are going to bring forth the largest, by far, investment in low income and affordable housing that this country has ever seen. And when we do that, Pramila, it's not only that we're going to build housing, it's not only that we're going to retrofit, make energy efficient existing housing, public housing. It is that we're going to create a substantial number of decent paying jobs. Underlying all of this is what we are doing is finally the right thing. We're addressing the needs of the American people. And when we do that, we create millions of good paying jobs. So what I want to say to people who are watching this, there is no program that we're talking about that is going to pay less than $15 an hour with decent benefits. All right? So that's terribly important. Climate. Again, coming from the West Coast, I do not have to tell you what the forest fires are about, what the drought is about. In my state of Vermont, we are 3,000 miles away from you. Our air quality is deteriorating because of the particulates in the air coming from Oregon. Can you believe that? And I assume that if it's getting to Vermont, it's getting all across this country. I think you don't have to be a scientist. You don't even have to believe in science. You can see with your eyes what is happening not only in the West Coast, the Midwest, what is happening in Europe. And these are not, people have got to understand, these are not, oh, isn't it terrible? Everything being equal, unless we have, it'll get worse. What you're seeing now will become norm. It'll only get worse. So we are committed to, again, by far, the largest investment in transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. And a lot of provisions in there. And by the way, still a work in progress. So I can't give you all the details, but one detail I can give you is we will have a civilian climate corps very well funded. I know it's something that you have felt strongly about, Alexandria, others have felt very strongly about. And what excites me about this, Pramila, is that, as you well know, there is an entire generation of young people who feel really strongly about climate. They want the ability to roll up their sleeves and help us transform the energy system. And we're going to allow that to happen. So I'm very excited about that. In terms of Medicare, you have been a champion in understanding that when Medicare was formed, for whatever reason, back in 1965, dental care, hearing aids, eyeglasses were not considered basic healthcare needs. I don't know why that was the case, but we intend to remedy that right now. And there are so many people out there. I mean, I've seen them, older people with can't chew their food, don't have any teeth in their mouth, can't talk to their grandchildren because they can't hear them. Hearing aids are expensive. We're going to cover those in this bill. Childcare, oh my God. We have a dysfunctional system right now. No one can deny that. In my state of Vermont, I don't know what it is in Washington State, it's about $15,000. So you tell me, if your average family, you're making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year, how the hell do you pay $15,000 for childcare if you are lucky enough to find a decent, in Vermont, before people are pregnant, they're lining up to try to get a slot for childcare. So this is crazy. And I wish I could tell you we could solve this problem tomorrow. We can't, but we're going to invest very heavily. And this is what we are going to address. Number one, the scarcity of facilities. There are not enough child care facilities. There are not enough child care workers. Why are there not enough child care workers? Because we pay them starvation wages. So we're going to raise wages and make child care a career. It should be considered to be a teaching career, not a McDonald's type profession. And then we are going to also provide significant financial support to parents, because nobody can afford to pay a quarter of their income in childcare. So immigration, very important to me. And I hope everybody appreciates it. I know you are a former immigration lawyer, is that correct?
Not a lawyer, Bernie, but worked on it for 20 years, so I feel like a lawyer.
Right. And you and I are both the daughter and son of immigrants as well, right? So
I'm an immigrant myself, first generation, born outside and came here at 16.
Your family came from India, my family came from home. And I think if this pandemic has taught us anything, and the statistics are startling and just, they tell us reality, is that many of our undocumented brothers and sisters have put their lives on the line to keep the economy going. Some have not survived the pandemic, et cetera, et cetera. So we are going to do our best. Now, without boring the viewers with all the stuff that we have to deal with in the Senate, we have a reconciliation bill, we have bird rules, we have a whole lot of stuff that we have to do. But I just want to say to everybody, we're going to do our very best to provide a path towards citizenship for millions of undocumented people. So that is kind of what we are doing. And again, I want to thank you and the Progressive Caucus in the House. We would not be where we are today without your great work.
Well, I really appreciate that, Bernie. And it's been so great to have the ability to work across the Senate and the House. And then, of course, with the outside movement that has been pushing for all of these things, because we know that the things that you're talking about, the things that we're talking about here for this bill, will change livelihoods and lives. When people wake up in the morning and they know that they have paid leave, which is also something that we're putting into this bill so that families can actually have paid leave, when they know that they have childcare, when they know that they have dental, vision, and hearing. And of course, we're fighting to lower the age of eligibility on Medicare as well. These are all things that fundamentally change how we think about the future. One more thing that's in here, Bernie, that I'm very excited about, that you and I fought for, is also 2 years of free community college. And that is a critical piece as well, because if we're going to create these great green jobs across the country, then we also have to make sure that people have the opportunity to get that higher education. And ultimately, you and I are going to get our full college for all bill. We're going to get
and we're going to get Medicare for all as
and
well.
We're going to get Medicare for all. And I think that is the thing I hope people take away from listening to what we're talking about today, is that their action, their organizing around the country, and all of the people who came out to help you in your presidential campaign and to help us build the movement here in the Congressional Progressive Caucus with more progressives than we've ever had, that organizing is what has helped us to get here. And it is a paradigm shift, right, Bernie? Because we're also saying those years where people argued about trickle-down economics and all sorts of phony things where you give people at the top the most, that is completely changed. So tell me about the tax pieces of this too, because there's some tax fairness pieces to try to get
Absolutely.
the millionaires and the billionaires and the big corporations to pay their fair share. And that also generates a lot of money that helps to pay for these investments.
It sure does. And again, your point is the most important point, is that because the American people have begun to stand up and demand a government that works for ordinary people, not the wealthy and the powerful and the lobbyists and the campaign contributors, that is why this is happening. And you know why the Republicans are so nervous and so scared? Because they know that everything that we have talked about right now is extremely popular. And they don't know what to do. Are they going to tell elderly people they should not have dentures? They're going to tell working moms that they should not be able to afford childcare? Tell homeless people that they can't get a decent apartment that they can afford? I don't think so. So what we have done is, in fact, change the paradigm. We are saying that why is it that the richest country in the history of the world, we are not addressing the needs of working families and, of course, the climate crisis. In terms of raising revenue, we are finally going to address what the overwhelming majority of Americans understand is disgraceful. Poll after poll shows not just Democrats, not just independents, Republicans understand that Jeff Bezos, who's off in outer space someplace now, should be paying his fair share of taxes here on Earth. And so should other billionaires, and so should other large profitable corporations. So you got a rigged tax system written by lobbyists representing the corporate interest, aided and abetted by all these lawyers and accountants who are helping the corporations avoiding paying their fair share of taxes. So the Senate Finance Committee is now working on a number of proposals which will raise trillions of dollars from the wealthy and the powerful. And I want everybody to remember, despite what you may see on TV, what Biden has said, and I agree with him, nobody making less than $400,000 a year will pay a nickel more in federal taxes. So when the Republicans talk about, raising taxes, they're right, but we're going to raise taxes on the rich and on large corporations, not on working families. The other way that we're going to raise substantial sums of revenue, I know you've been involved in this, is by telling the pharmaceutical industry.
That's right.
Which is the most powerful lobby here in Washington, which today, if people go into their local pharmacy, prices for their medicine could have doubled because we have not had the guts to stand up to this greedy, unethical industry. So what we are going to do now is have Medicare start negotiating prices with the pharmaceutical industry. We can raise, we believe, somewhere between $500 and $600 billion. And that is, by the way, how we pay to expand Medicare to cover dental, hearing aids, eyeglasses, and lower the age of eligibility. And you also mentioned, I know, in passing, here is the irony right now, Pramila. If you and I were talking about one thing, if we were saying, let's talk about investing hundreds of billions in climate, everyone would say, whoa, that's a huge deal. And they would say, let's deal with childcare. Oh my God, let's deal with pre-K. Let's deal with higher education. We're dealing with all of this stuff in one piece of legislation, one area that you just mentioned, but it's huge unto itself. Paid family and medical leave.
Right.
We are, correct me if I'm wrong, we are the only major nation on earth. So that if somebody has a baby, they may have to go back to work in a week because she doesn't have paid family and medical leave. Your kid gets sick.
And we saw it during the pandemic as over 600,000 people died and people couldn't even take time off to go bury their loved ones. It was stunning. And I think that's really important. You were talking about the tax piece, and the way I think about it, Bernie, is it's going to be a tax hike on the wealthiest, and it's going to be a major tax cut for Americans across the country, because now they're going to have paid leave, they're going to have childcare, they're going to be able to go to community college. It is a tax cut for working America.
And more directly. I mean, again, there's so much here we haven't even, we scarcely mentioned the child tax credit. Talk about tax relief for working families. I want everybody out there to know. I mean, again, there's so much going on here that we got to focus on each one of these things. People, I hope, who are watching this have already received a $300 or $350 tax credit per child, depending on the age of your child. Under 6, it's $350. Over, it's $300. Do you know what that means? You know what that means, Pramila. For a family that's struggling on $40,000, $50,000, $30,000 a year, finally to begin to help working families raise their kids with dignity, we hope, and I want everybody to hear this, this is just one of the things to lower childhood poverty by half. How's that? Right,
and those checks just started to go out. I mean, we've now sent out checks to the families of, I think it's 60 million kids across America. And if you add the survival checks that you and I fought for in the rescue plan, that meant in some cases a family of 4 was getting a significant amount of money in their pockets to deal with all the things that we're dealing with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the results are pretty clear. I'm in Vermont now, a year ago, what we were talking about? High unemployment. What we're talking about now? We're talking about worker shortage, which is a better problem to have than, 20% unemployment. Tax revenues are soaring in states and at the federal level. So what we did with the American Rescue Plan is we said, look, we have a major crisis now. We have a pandemic. People are dying. People can't go to work. The economy is shut down. We got to do something. We did it. It worked. And now what we are saying is, you know what? Now we're dealing with the long-term, pre-pandemic structural problems facing America. Right. And we're going to do that as well. So, I know out there are people say, well, didn't go far enough on this thing. Well, I wish they would have done that. All I can say is take a deep breath, folks. We are in the United States Congress, and we have zero Republican support. We have some conservative Democrats. Vermilla's working like crazy, trying to put together the coalitions that we need. We can't do, everything that Pramila and I would like to do. But put this in context. Think about all that Pramila and I have talked about just now, and there's a lot that we haven't talked about. This is the most, I've said it before, I will say it again, in my view, this is the most consequential piece of legislation to improve life for working families, to deal with income and wealth inequality, to deal with the climate that we have seen since the Great Depression and FDR. That's a big deal. And
it's a big deal.
This is not the end, obviously. We're going to keep going. But I think also if we can pass this, not only does it address so many of the crises we have talked about, to me, even more importantly, at a time when so many people are literally giving up on American democracy. They don't believe the government is responding to their needs. This bill does respond in a significant way. So it is.
That's right, Bernie. And you've been amazing. Voters delivered us the House, the Senate, and the White House. And it's pretty thin majorities. We know that. You've got a really thin majority. We've got an almost as thin majority here in the House. But at the end of the day, this package, when we deliver this package to the American people, and we're going to do everything we can to make it as strong as possible, but it is going to change lives. And it is going to fundamentally shift the balance of power and opportunity in America towards working people. And we're not going to be done. It's a down payment on the entire vision that we have, but it's a huge, huge step forward.
And I just want to pick up on what Pramila said. Sometimes I think, intellectuals, look at this thing from an abstract concept. What Pramila just said is it changes lives. If we are successful, this is still a work in progress, doing what we want, just in childcare. Childcare will be free for far more people than it is right now, free. For middle-class people, nobody will pay more than 7% of their income. That changes lives.
That's right.
When you build affordable housing, people have a decent place to live in, it changes. Like when you make higher education affordable, it changes lives. So this is a huge deal, and we need, as you've indicated, the American people to stand up to demand that the Congress and the White House be as strong and tough as they can. We got a very slim majority in the House. We got no majority at all in the Senate. My guess is that at 3 o'clock in the morning, Kamala Harris will be casting a vote to make the difference. But that's where we are. And I just want to thank you again and the Progressive Caucus and the millions of people who are out there who are demanding that this government start working for all of us and not just a few.
Well, I'm so proud to lead the Progressive Caucus in the House, and so proud, Bernie, to be working with you in the Senate as we deliver what is real change, real fundamental transformative change for Americans across the country. So thank you for everything you're doing. Thanks for joining us today. And I know you've got a lot of work to do to still get this all together. And we are here, all 96 members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. I know you were remembering the other day when we were taking that photo on the Capitol steps. You turned to me and you said, wow, this is really different than it used to be. And you and I, Bernie, are also working to make sure we continue to get more progressives in the House and the Senate. Thank you for everything you're doing. Thanks for joining me. Take care.
Take care.
And everybody that is still tuned in, make sure to follow us on Instagram at Rep Jayapal and to stay tuned for updates on this and much, much more. We're going to continue to work with Senator Bernie Sanders, with all of the progressives in the House, and with all of you who are creating transformative change every time you stand up and organize, every time you go into your school, your community, your college, your workplace, and you organize and you say, this is what we can do in America, this is what we're standing up for. That is how we build the movement for progress. Take care, everybody. To justice.